नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लाङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं। नमयो विष्णुपादाय श्रीगौरप्रियमूर्तये श्रीमते भक्तिवल्लभतीर्थगोस्वामिनामिने। कृपया क्षमतामपराधिजनं कलुषायुतशक्तसुदीननरं सुपथे परिचालय सर्वदिनं प्रणमामि च माधवदेवपदम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 6th chapter. Narad Goswami is explaining to Vedavyasa Muni that after in the next birth, means in the current birth, in the current Manvantara, in the current Kalpa, again I appeared as a son of Brahma, and then in this life I am wandering to all the different places by playing flute and by singing the names of Lord Narayana. I am not restricted to any particular place, means I am free to move from one place to another place without being restricted by anyone. We heard the quote by Vishwanath Thakur wherein he said, the karmis they can go only up to Brahmaloka. The Gyanis they can go into the Brahmaloka, but they fear that the karma will bind them, therefore they will not go into the Brahmaloka. Whereas I, being completely free from all attachments of this material world, as I was completely established in Krishna Bhakti, I could very freely move from one place to another without being restricted by anyone. And wherever I sang the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the Lord would immediately appear in front as if I have invited him. Means even though I have not invited, still by listening to his glories, he would appear in front of me wherever I am. Now we'll read from verse number 35. एतद्ध्यातु रचितानां मात्रास्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्। सतत विषयभोग वासना द्वारा যাহাদের চিত্ত ব্যাকুল হইয়াছে তাহাদের পক্ষে এই হরিচরিত কথা কীর্তনই ভবসাগর পার হইবার একমাত্র উপায়, ইহা প্রত্যক্ষ পরোক্ষ ও অপরোক্ষ সকল ভাবেই দেখা গিয়াছে। So Narad Goswami is speaking to Vedavyasa Muni. He is telling that, you see, those who are constantly anxious in this material world to fulfill their sense gratificatory desires, for them the only remedy to get out of this material world, or the only remedy to get out of all these anxieties, is hearing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Hari Charita Katha Kirtan, listening to the pastimes and the various glories of Supreme Lord Hari is the only raft, the boat to cross over this ocean of material world wherein there are constant anxieties and miseries. This I have directly witnessed and indirectly also witnessed. Means, in all ways, directly through direct or indirect means, it is to be known that the, the listening of the glories of Supreme Lord Hari is the only means to get out of this material world. Shri Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur writes in the commentary, Prakaranartha upasanghar korite chan etat ityadi shloke. So in this verse, in the context of singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, mind you, Narad Goswami was speaking to Vedavyasa Muni about the glories of Harikatha. How attentively, by attentive listening to the Harikatha of Supreme Lord, Narad Goswami has developed a taste to leave everything and then search for the Supreme Lord. So this he was telling even before he narrated, the only way to come out of this material world, or the only way that one can get bliss or pleasure, is by listening to the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. And then he started explaining the entire narration of his past life. Now it's almost being concluded here. In conclusion of the context of Harikatha, here it is being told, Matra Artha Vishay. ताहादेर स्पर्श अर्थात भोग समूह, उहादेर इच्छाय अर्थात विषय भोगेर वासनाय जाहादेर चित्त व्याकुल हইয়াছে, ताहादेर निकट जे संसार समुद्र ताहा उत्तीर्ण हইবার प्लव आमा कर्तृक दृष्ट হইয়াছে, अर्थात आमी प्रत्यक्ष रूपे दर्शन करियाছি, এই বিষয়ে কেন কোনো प्रमाणेर अपेक्षा নাই, এই ভাব। Narad Goswami is telling that those who are constantly afflicted by the material miseries, those who are very anxious due to their desire to attain material sense gratification, I have directly seen, means I don't need any further confirmation from anyone, because I have directly seen with my own eyes the boat or the raft that is required to cross over the ocean of such anxieties and miseries. I have seen with my own eyes. I don't need any other confirmation from others. Sei plavai hoiteche harichariter anuvarnan. And what is that raft? That raft is nothing but singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Means that is the only way by which one can cross over the material ocean. There is no other process. This I have directly witnessed. I don't need anyone to support or second my or confirm my understanding. You see, there are certain things when we see, then you are sure that even if someone argues against you, you say that, I have seen it, I don't need any further confirmation. I am sure that whatever I saw is correct and I'm pretty much situated on it. So it is like that. Narad Goswami is telling that I have personally witnessed in my own life. I don't need any confirmation from anybody about this. That Krishna Nama, singing of Krishna's glories, is the only way to get ultimate bliss. Is the conclusion of what he has been telling so far. Earlier he told that if the glories of Supreme Lord are not sung, even if you are executing all the other karma, jnana, yoga, etc., if the Lord's glories are not sung, you are not making any use. It's futile. On the other hand, if you are singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, or if you are serving Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, but you are not performing the material duties, and in the process you fall down, you are not at loss. So how service to Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and particularly he is telling that listening and singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna as the best of the limbs of devotion. So therefore he is telling that, now he is in confirmation, he is telling that Vishaya Lalasai Udvigna Chitta Sansara Samudre Nimajjaman Jiver পক্ষে তাহা হইতে উত্তীর্ণ হইবার একমাত্র উপায় শ্রী হরির চরিতাবলীর নিরন্তর শ্রবণ ও কীর্তন. The only way to cross over this material world which is full of miseries and afflictions and anxieties is to take shelter of the glories of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, hearing and speaking the glories of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. এখানে सर्वत्रई बहु अंग विशिष्टा भक्तिर कीर्तनई मुख्य अंग बोलिया कीर्तनोपलक्षिता अन्यान्य भक्तिर अंगौ सकलेर जाना उचित. You see, there are several limbs of devotion, but among different limbs of devotion, the foremost is singing the glories of Krishna. Vedavyasa Muni has written about everything else, but he has not written particularly about the glories of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. He has written so many scriptures, and he has also mentioned at some places about the glories of Supreme Lord, but he has not sung them vividly. Therefore, he is not, or he is deprived of the actual bliss. So Krishna Kirtan, by singing the glories of Supreme Lord Shri Krishna, one will be greatly blissful. One will very easily cross over the material ocean. This is the one of the principal limbs of devotion. But here Vishnuacharya Thakur says that Kirtanopalakkhita annanno bhaktir angau sakaler jana uchit. One should also know about the other limbs of devotion, that is remembrance, hearing, submission, worship. There are different 9 limbs of devotion. All we should know, but Kirtana is the foremost. Srila Prabhupada writes in the commentary, Baddha Jeev nijer dui prakar deher ashray sansare dubiya jan. So, the living entities, because of their taking shelter of 2 bodies, one is the gross and other is the subtle body, they are constantly sheltered under the gross and the subtle body. Means they are working for the satisfaction of the gross and the subtle bodies. They are sansare dubyajan. They are immersed in this material ocean because of their taking shelter of the gross and the subtle bodies. Sei asakta hoite paritraner. This has to be asakti. Spelling mistake. Paritraner ekmatra upai Hari Leela Gan. And in order to get relieved from this material world into which we have fallen because of our identification with the gross and the subtle bodies, the only way to get rid of this material world is sing the glories of Supreme Lord. That is why among all the limbs of devotion, singing the glories and remembering ekanta bhakter matra smarana kirtan anna parve ruchi nai hoy pravartan. Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Bhajana Rahasya, he is writing this. Ekanta bhakter matra shravana kirtan. Smarana kirtan. The ekanta bhaktas, one-pointed devotees, their only desire is, or they are only inclined towards smarana kirtan, remembrance and singing the glories. Anna parve ruchi naya hai pravartan. They will not have desire for other limbs of devotion. There are 9 limbs of devotion, but they don't have desire for other limbs of devotion as much as they have for remembrance and to speak the glories. Because in remembrance there is hearing. In speaking the glories there is also hearing. It's automatically there. Without hearing, how can we speak? Without hearing, how can we remember? It's automatically there. And submission, surrender. It's also not possible without, remembrance, or speaking about the Supreme Lord is also not possible without submission. Submission is very, very essential. So, in this manner, our our attachment in this material world, we will be freed from it only by singing the glories of Hari. हरि लीला गान द्वारा ही जीव विषय सागरे निमज्जन होते रखा पान. Only by singing the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, the living entities will be delivered from their immersion into this material world. It's the only way, it's the only boat that will carry us from this shore to the other shore. भगवान अधोक्षज हरि जीवेर इंद्रिय भोग्य विषय ना हुआय हरिलीला कथने और श्रवणे जीवेर कोनो अमंगल होय ना. पक्षांतरे ताहते जीवेर देहोपाधिकारी द्वयेर भोग्य विषय अभावे देहेर नित्य सेवा प्रवृत्ति उदिता है. Because the Supreme Lord is adhokshaja, is beyond the knowledge of the sense organs, he is fully transcendental and he is not an object of enjoyment by material people. When one hears or sings his glories, it will not be amangala, inauspicious. Or in other words, listening or speaking the glories of Supreme Lord is highly auspicious. Because in this material world, everything is inauspicious. Everything, avirinchit amangalam. Starting from Brahma Loka down up to the Patala Loka, whatever is there, everything is inauspicious. There is no auspiciousness in this material world. As much we come in contact with inauspiciousness, so much we become inauspicious. Or, in another sense, so much covering will be there on our consciousness. As much covering is there on the consciousness, so much materialism or material conscious we will become. But Supreme Lord, he being transcendental to the mundane world, he is beyond, therefore the listening and speaking of his glories is auspicious. While we talk about anything in this material world or speak about in this material world, it's inauspicious. If we talk any mundane subject matters, it's only going to bring inauspiciousness. It's called prajalpa. One of the prohibitions that Rupa Goswami has given in his Upadeshamrita, Tatyahara Prayashascha Prajalpa Niyamagra Janasangasya Lolyam to Shadvir Bhakti Vinashyati. This Prajalpa, talking about the mundane subject matters, material matters or gossips, what will this do? Bhakti Vinashyati. It's going to destroy devotion. Therefore, Supreme Lord being transcendental to mundane subject matters, the listening of his glories or speaking of his glories is highly auspicious, or Prabhupada says not inauspicious like mundane subject matters. But on the contrary, one will develop the eternal service mentality towards the Supreme Lord by hearing Harikatha. Harikatha is the only way by which one will develop the service attitude. If whatever devotional activities we are doing, if we are not listening Harikatha, if we have no inclination to speak the glories of Hari, then we will not be actually situated in that way. If we want to chant Harinam properly, we need to hear Harikatha attentively. Because only by hearing the glories of Hari and his name, our attachment towards the holy name will increase. By hearing about Supreme Lord's glories, our desire to serve him will increase. Therefore, hearing is a very, very essential element in Krishna Bhakti. And what we should listen, that is also very important, that is about the glories of Supreme Lord. As much we hear, so much of our connection we will feel with the Supreme Lord. Sambandha Gyan. We will get Sambandha Gyan. When we get that Sambandha Gyan, knowledge of relationship, then whatever we do will be devotion. Or we will do service with attachment, with affinity. Oh, he is my master, I am his servant in this mode. Therefore, Harikatha is very, very essential. Srila Prabhupada emphasized very much on hearing Harikatha, listening Harikatha. Very, very essential to listen Harikatha. And particularly for the Matavasis, he used to say that, staying in the Mat without proper listening and singing of Harikatha or Kirtan is just like a karmic activity. Any other karma, maybe we are cleaning the temple, we are cleaning the utensils of the Lord, we are cooking for the Lord, or we are serving food to the Vaishnavas, whatever, we may be doing all these things. All सेवा काले सेव्य वस्तु के भोग्य वस्तु बोलिया मने करते হয় না. And when we hear attentively about Hari and his glories and his pastimes, then when we are performing his service, we will understand him that he is not an object of our enjoyment. Because sometimes we don't understand that the Supreme Lord, the deity is in front of us, but we are not able to fully understand or realize that he is my object of worship. I shall not misbehave in front of him. There are 32 kinds of seva parad, offenses while serving the Supreme Lord. Like, not offering obeisances to the Supreme Lord and speaking in raised voice in front of the Supreme Lord, and blessing someone or cursing someone in front of the Lord. All these things are offenses, because the Supreme Lord, he is the master, he is the enjoyer, he is the controller. In front of him, when we are doing all these things, then actually we are indirectly becoming the enjoyers. We want to master over the situation or that particular circumstances. But here, when one is constantly hearing about the glories of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, when he hears about the Vigraha Tattva, Sri Vigraha Tattva, about the ontological aspect of Sri Vigraha, then slowly one will be able to understand how to serve the Supreme Lord. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada is telling that by all means listening to Harikatha and speaking Harikatha are the topmost devotional limbs. आत्मेंद्रिय प्रीति वांछा तारे बोली काम, कृष्णेंद्रिय प्रीति वांछा धरे प्रेम नाम. If one is trying to fulfill one's own sense desires, it's called kama, lust. But when one acts to please the Supreme Lord's senses, then it is prema. Prema means love. Love and lust, they may seemingly be, they may appear to be the same, or we use the words vice versa, but it is not so. Lust and love are totally two different things. Love means that which is purely dedicated to Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, and lust means for one's own sense gratificatory desires. So that is why in this material world there is no true love, because there is always some desire for one's own sense gratification. What will I attain if I do this to him or to her? If I get some benefit out of it, then I will love him or her. It is not love, that is lust, because I am doing with some such desire. निरुपाधिक जीवेर भोगमय जगते आत्मीय प्रतीति नाय. In this material world, nirupadhik jeev, those living entities who are free from all mundane designations, they don't consider anything in this material world to be their own. My house, my building, my room, or my wife, my children, all things are not present in the pure devotee, because they identify themselves only as servants of Supreme Lord. Krishna is mine and I am of Krishna. Yamadi bhir yoga pathaih कमलोपहतो मुहुः मुकुंद सेवया यद्वत्तथात्मा न शाम्यति। निरंतर काम लोभादि रिपु वशीभूत अशांत मन मुकुंद सेवा द्वारा जेमन साक्षात निग्रहित হয়, यम नियमादि अष्टांग योग मार्ग अवलंबन करिले तेमन निरुद्ध व शांत হয় না। निरंतर काम लोभादि रिपु वशीभूत अशांत मन, the mind which is constantly in turbulence due to our constant, what do you call, enemies in the heart, that is kama lobha, the lust, greed, delusion, etc. These are the enemies that are sitting in our mind. As long as one is controlled by these enemies, there cannot be any peacefulness of the mind. But that mind is completely purified by Mukunda Seva, by the service to Mukunda. The way in which the mind is completely freed from all turbulences and chaos due to our enemies residing in our mind, in such a manner no other process can bring peace to the mind. Means devotion is the only process, or service to the lotus feet of Mukunda, the manner in which it brings peace to the heart or mind, no other process can bring. Like yama, niyama, etc. Ashtanga yoga, there is Ashtanga yoga process, yam, niyam, dharan, etc. There are 8 different processes of Ashtanga yoga. Even by following this Ashtanga yoga process, the mind is not pacified as much as it becomes peaceful by serving Mukunda. Means devotion is the topmost process by which even the mind also becomes peaceful. Vedavyasa Muni, he has done everything, but he was not finding any peace. Narada Goswami is telling that you do whatever you want, your mind will not be peaceful unless until your mind is serving the Supreme Lord. Serving Supreme Lord is the only process by which one will become freed from all kinds of turbulences in this material world. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes in the comment, it's a very, very long commentary. Bhakti yukta hoilei nistar hoy, iha nirdharit hoileu जे रूप केवला भक्तिर द्वारा आत्मा साक्षात रूपे प्रसन्न है, सही रूप भक्ति मिश्र योग ज्ञानादि द्वारा नहीं। Now devotion is performed in various levels. One is unalloyed devotion or pure devotion, and other is that devotion which is mixed with jnana, yoga, etc. Unalloyed devotion is, or it's also called as Kevala Bhakti. Kevala Bhakti means one-pointed devotion. It's also called as Ahaituki Bhakti, means causeless, without any condition, without any cause or desire. It's also called Nirupadhiki Bhakti. One is free from all mundane designations. I belong to Krishna. With this sole designation, one is performing bhajan. These all are synonymous. Kevala Bhakti, Nirupadhiki Bhakti, and Shuddha Bhakti, all these things, or Ahaituki Bhakti, all these things are the same. Atma Sakkhat Rupe Prasanna Hoy. By engaging in pure devotion, Atma will be greatly pleased. Seirupa Bhakti Mishra Yoga Jnanadi Dwara nahe, and not through yoga and jnana. The knowledge as well as the yogic process. By following these things, the mind is not as much pleased as by performance of devotion. Because just now we heard in our Chaitanya Charitamrita that jnana and yoga, whatever it is, they are not pure. In the sense, a person who is performing jnana, who is following the jnana marga, he may be worshipping the Supreme Lord, but in order to attain liberation. A person who is following the yogic process, he may be worshipping the Supreme Lord, but he wants to attain some yogic perfections. But both of them, they do not want Supreme Lord. Unless until Supreme Lord manifests, there cannot be peace. How can there be peace? There will be peace only when one completely dovetails his life in the service of, when Supreme Lord manifests. Like Dhruva. Dhruva was not at all at peace. He was in total anxiety to get a greater kingdom. But once the Supreme Lord appeared in front of him, all his malice or enviousness or anxiety, everything is simply gone by the appearance of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Because Lord is Ashoka, Abhaya, Amrita, Adhar. The Lord's lotus feet, Ashoka, there is no lamentation. Abhaya, there is no fear, there is no anxiety. And Amrita, there is no death. Immortal. So, when one attains that lotus feet, then one will be free from all anxieties. Till that point, we will be having anxieties in this material world. So, yoga or karma or jnana, whatever process one may follow, because there is no direct appearance of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. He wants mukti, okay, he may be awarded mukti. A karmi wants some karmic fruity reactions, Lord, maybe he gives him and then finished. But the want is not finished. That is still going on. But if Supreme Lord is attained, he attained everything. Therefore, the mind will become completely peaceful. यमादि द्वारा अर्थात यम, नियम, आसन, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार, धारणा, ध्यान, समाधि प्रवृत्ति अष्टांग योग मार्ग द्वारा. So yam, niyam, there are 8 processes, Ashtanga yogic process. Yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyan and samadhi. We will hear about this tomorrow because there Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains what all these things are. But for now we will leave these 8 as they are. By following this, Seiru prasanna hoina, Jerub Mukunda Sevar Dwara, Sakhatai Suprasanna Hai. Just like the mind, the Atma becomes, Yen Atma Suprasidati, the Atma becomes very, very satisfied in service of Mukunda, so much the Atma will not be satisfied by any other process. Because Atma Vritti, the nature of Atma is to serve. As long as the Atma does not come in its natural or innate propensity, till that time there will be trouble. Isn't it? Until we are established in our actual, Swabhava, as per our nature. As long as we are not situated in that, till the time our quest for happiness will continue. You see, even in material terms, there is something called job satisfaction. You heard this, job satisfaction. What is the meaning of job satisfaction? The meaning of job satisfaction is that the work that I am doing, whether I am loving that or not, or whether I am doing the activity that actually I have love for or I am passionate for or not. I may not be compensated as much as I want to, but if I am situated in the job that I have passion towards, then I will be very, very satisfied. But on the other hand, maybe we are getting lots and lots of money, but my passion towards one particular stream, that's not being fulfilled, then there is no job satisfaction. You keep on jumping from one job to the other job. So what I wanted to say is that as long as the Atma is not situated in its innate property, till the time there is no satisfaction. And what is the innate property of Atma? That is Hari Seva, service to Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. That is the intrinsic property of Atma. यही भागवते श्री दशमे पुरेह भूमन बहवो अपि योगिनः, अर्थात हे भूमन, हे अच्युत, यही संसारे अनेकानेक मनुष्य बहुकाल योग साधने योगी होयाऊ जोग द्वारा ज्ञान लाभ करिते ना पारिया सेई केवल जोग निष्फल विवेचनाएं आपनाते लौकिकी वैदिकी कर्म समूह अर्पण वो चित्त शुद्धि प्रवृत्ति नानाविध भवदीय कथा श्रवण न आदर व आदर जनित लब्ध ज्ञान मिश्र भक्ति द्वारा ही आपना के विदित होइया परम सुखे संसार निवृत्ति पूर्वक आपनार साम्य रूपा gati prapta hoya chan. So this is prayers of the Brahma. Brahma is praying to Supreme Lord. In the 10th canto we will get this, in Brahma's prayers. He Achyuta, He Bhuman. The Lord is being addressed like this. In this material world, so many persons, they are undergoing yoga sadhana, yogic practices, but they are not being satisfied. Like our Saubari Rishi. Saubari, he was sitting in the water in Ashtanga yoga process, following all the yogic process, and then he is completely meditating upon that yogic practice and sitting in asana and all these things. But the moment he saw the intercourse between two fishes, immediately his desire to associate with women, it got erosion in him, because the mind is still not fixed in the natural position. Whereas Haridas Thakur, when he was chanting the holy name, is completely fixed in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna and his name. Therefore, even though there was a lot of allurement from Chintamani, he was totally unmoved. So, in this manner, he is telling that by yoga sadhana, by practicing all these yoga practice, etc., they are not able to find satisfaction, and finally they devote all their karmas, means they perform all the activities for your sake, and then ultimately they get some bliss by entering into you. Means those who have not performed pure devotion, they will never be completely be peaceful. But if to the degree one is performing devotion, to that degree one will also attain the bliss. The yogis, when they are performing pure yogic practices, they are dissatisfied. But when they dovetail their activities for the service of Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, then they attain samya, they merge into the Supreme Lord. The yogis, they merge into the Supreme Lord, and therefore they get some bliss out of it. But devotion, one will get abundant bliss. We will continue the purport tomorrow. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan Panchatattvatmak Shri Gaura Hari ki jai. परमाराधितम पतित पावन स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति वल्लभ तीर्थ गोस्वामी श्री गुरु महाराज की जय. नित्य लीला प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद प्रणत स्तोत्र सत श्री श्रीमद भक्ति दयित माधव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय. जगत गुरु श्री भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय. श्री श्री रूपानुग गुरु वर्ग की जय. श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय। श्री कृष्ण द्वैपायन वेदव्यास महामुनि की जय। श्री श्री नारद गोस्वामी की जय। जय श्री श्री राधा गोविंद देव झूलन यात्रा महामहोत्सव की जय। श्री चातुर्मास्य व्रत की जय। व्रत पालन करी भक्त वृंद की जय। निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।